Step into the light where the wild ones roam, where the heart speaks loud, calling this place home. We break the rules, we paint the sky, ridiculously you. We were born to fly. Ooh, it's ridiculously you.
Welcome to the Ridiculously You podcast, where we see and love even the ridiculous parts of yourself. Today's guest is a super dear friend of mine, and you are going to find him to be a super real treat. His name is Jeff Lavin. He is a former pro snowboarder turned capital market cowboy man. He lives loud, he leads wild, he builds empires, and he's here to send it. So, Jeff, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, former pro snowboarder turned private equity, private capital markets. Been doing this for the last 4 to 5 years or so, and then had a bit of other business experiences in between. Then I took some exits and stuff like that with companies I started, and everybody always asks, um, "How did you go from pro snowboarder to what you're doing right now?" Was literally talking to somebody on the phone. They're like, "That's kind of interesting." But when you're a sponsor and stuff like that, you don't just have one boss. So like I rode for Monster Energy, like Oakley. I had about 12 sponsors at one point in time. Even there's one in Utah that you might know of, Julie. X Bomb. They made chapstick, but I had a chapstick sponsor too.
Hell yeah.
I had literally everything. Like this is like the 20-year-old dream, like 20 something year old dude's dream. I didn't have to do laundry for an entire year, like except for underwear. Like that's the only thing I didn't have sponsorship with. So I could open
Holy
up a
cow.
bag and put like a fresh pair of socks on, put on some pants and stuff like that. And then I donated a lot of those clothes to like charity and stuff. So it just felt really cool to do that and like kind of accomplish that. But having 12 different sponsors and stuff like that, it really allows you to see inside because we're part of the marketing department, and then sometimes you talk to people there. They'll kind of take you under the wings and show you how business works. So I saw how it worked from an energy drinks perspective, like taking over Red Bull with Monster. We overtook that market, or like seeing how Oakley, like how they all ran to board companies and stuff like that, their distribution model and everything like that. So for about 9 years, I was literally in that matrix of seeing how everything worked and asking questions every chance I got.
So you asked a lot of questions. You saw how things worked, but like, what was the first thing that you did that was like, okay, I'm gonna dip my toe into this realm now.
Oh, well, the first thing I did, believe it or not, I blew up both my knees. It would have been a lot easier if I would have had surgeries back to back and they could have been like just blown them out both at the same time. But life doesn't work like that. And then our seasons are short, so I lost like 2 years. Um, Kind of like during the first one, I thought, all right, well, this is like 2006, 2007, so Facebook wasn't even a thing unless you're in college or whatever. Like there's MySpace where you can make the cool background and stuff like that. And then there's Google. So I created a like my site was lavinsnow.com, and I kind of spun that into a database of like all the kick butt things you could do, like Apres snowboarder, Apres shred, all the cool locations, and then just being in the action sports world, I had access to other people like in the BMX world or in the snow skate, surf, and moto world too, like where you can kind of share all the cool things and all the cool stuff. So that kind of turned into a database. And while I was getting ready to get back on snow, looking to go to South America, I was gonna have to hire somebody or people to kind of do this. I was looking at interns, and then somebody that was doing they were doing like action profiles, so it's kind of like Facebook for action sports, and they
Right.
wanted my database, so they made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and it was more than I made snowboarding. Um,
Really?
like yeah, I had this totally unplanned exit where it just happened, and I said, all right, for that much, yeah. Absolutely. You can have this, please. Yes, I don't have to like scale this or figure out anything. I can just, okay. Let me know how you need
Catching
it.
out.
Yeah, let me know if you need any support or anything like that. But cool, great. Then 4 years later, I was able to get back on, did the whole snowboard thing and rode and had some really good comeback years and stuff like that afterwards, and had a good career. And then as I was kind of getting ready to wrap it up, I had a board sponsor me offer me like a year contract, which is the equivalent of like, hey, old man, 29 years old. And that's actually pretty old in our world. Like the average career is like 4 to 5 years. I lasted about 8 or 9, then whatever I missed out on, with injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, we'll give you your contract, which means you're going to come in and show the younger guys how to do stuff, and they're going to learn what it's all about and kind of like watch you. And then we're just going to push you out to the pasture. And essentially at that point, you're what we call it's been coined like the disposable hero, or like go pro, be a hero. Then you're old pro, used to be a hero, hashtag washed up. But, at 29 years, I wasn't going to have that. Still had just that, I don't know, cojones, where I just said, oh, yeah, cool. Like, I'm all good with that. I'm not signing this. I'm gonna start my own board company. And they're like, oh, okay, well, good luck. And then I said, in about 5 years, I'll be gunning for your tails, and we're gonna create some innovative technology, and it's gonna change the whole industry. And then they really laughed at me like pretty hard. And I was like, okay, cool, what? But that's the thing. Like criticism and stuff like that and critique. Like going through knee surgeries and stuff like that, and people said I was washed up or you're done or you're a has-been and stuff like that. It just fuels me more just to say, hey, take a look at me now, man. Look at this. Um, we're crushing it. So, from there, I had no idea I was going to do this, but I just jumped in. Like people say, dip your toes in the water. Like I just tucked it off the biggest cliff and went for the double caner and sent it and kind of like landed all right. And then I had to tread water and figure out all that in the deep end. But it was a learning experience. Ended up taking that company, spinning that out with a holding company, and then we had about 7 different sub entities underneath it. Because you kind of have to solve problems, and when you're bootstrapping yourself, there was just a lot of stuff that I didn't know what I knew now, and I wish I could tell that younger person, like, hey, you could probably do it this way or that way or this way, or a number of different ways, and you'd be a lot further now. But it kind of all happens for a reason. We had everything from buyers groups to procurement, to partnering with a product design group and stuff like that. Intellectual property, because that's the technology that we developed, whereas super light and high tensile strength, we replaced fiberglass with a high density polypropylene. That was kind
Oh,
of like
cool.
our utility patent and stuff like that. And then we had you look at stuff too, like logistical algorithms, because God, those guys make way too much money, and it drove me nuts trying to coordinate with all the suppliers and all the different factories and stuff like that. So finding ways to save on that, and then also cross-selling to all the various different groups and stuff like that, and then great products that come from overseas or anywhere. They usually have really amazing quality control groups. So we ended up taking an exit with 3PL acquired those rights to the QC teams, as well as the algorithms. So it just led me to say, hey, I can build stuff from the ground up, or, if you ever built a house, um, I love asking this in groups. How many people built their first house? And man, if I've ever found that person, they're a freaking unicorn, because nobody's ever raised their hand and been like, "Hey, I built my first house." Usually, everybody's like, "I bought my first house," or maybe how many built their second house. You might get like two people.
Yeah.
Um, Third house, by then people are kind of building them, but business actually kind of look at it like the same way. Just because there's more financing options, there's more stuff available, and then there's certain tricks you can do with existing businesses, even if it's not in the same space. where you can reallocate net operating income and tax liabilities and point that towards what you're trying to fund. And like years later, ended up because there's a lot of personal guarantees and there's a lot of stuff. So trying to circumnavigate that, and then just being a extreme sports, action sports athlete, you're just addicted to progression, or I was addicted to progression. So
Right.
from there, said, all right, we got to go for this. We got to go for this. Ended up creating a stabilization platform or a stabilization engine where it's a quant fund AI trading platform for commercial real estate. It has nothing to do with it, but it stabilizes certain asset classes. And then that was kind of my introduction to private equity. And I looked at everything from a total different lens once I kind of understood data points and letting go of ego and stuff like that, and just focusing on data and looking at that. And that was a really long explanation of how I went from pro snowboarder to pro snowboarder to PE. I could have just been like, yeah, I just woke up and wanted to be a private equity guy. Said I don't know anybody that really finds this space. Very people like really even know about it. It's kind of like this whole secret thing, I think, like it's a
Yeah.
like a fraternity or a club or something like that, like the Elks or the Moose or something like that. You have to have people vouch for you.
So it was like pro snowboarding career, created your own snowboards, and that was like business number one from here to here. That makes sense. And then all of a sudden it's like, and now what I learned was maybe buying businesses and private equities and that kind of a thing. Tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about how what you learned from your snowboarding like business, your the where you manufactured and did all of that. What did you learn from that that might have led you towards this?
Well, for one, never put all your eggs in one basket. So you have one, because I think there's maybe a handful of companies that actually make their own boards, and I was one of those ones that early on tried doing that.
Mhm.
But a lot of people do what's called OEM, original equipment manufacturing, or ODM, original development manufacturing, where they're bringing in their own proprietary products and stuff like that, or their own what we call in the industry shapes and cambers and stuff like that. But never keeping your eggs in one basket, so having multiple factories. So I always looked at it from the standpoint of a depth chart of, all right, this is factory number one. This is my tier one manufacturer. This is my tier three or tier one, tier two. Below here, this is kind of our development project or the factory that we're working with. Maybe they can turn something out or they can make some prototypes and stuff like that. But looking at stuff from there's like four different angles, and I might not remember all of them, but either you have really good, amazing quality, you can churn stuff out in time, and then your price point. Those were kind of the big three. So we'd look at those and kind of adjust from there. And then every quarter, there was kind of like a new tryout. So I kept people on their toes, where it's open season, hey. You want those Q2, this or that. All right, then this is what we need, and these are our goals. But never keeping any of even our supply chain, even keeping that diversified as well too. Where the only person that could, and I was just really on top of this too, where the only person that could tell would be somebody that's inside. Like everything from your plastics to your woods and your cores and stuff like that. Like the consumer, the end user should not ever notice a difference. Those things
Mm.
should be ideal. And then there's a few things that I could notice where, oh, that's, like this marking here doesn't match this Pantone or this two-tone color. So I could tell it came from this factory or that factory.
Mm. But one of the things I do hear you talk about all the time is this idea of diversification is like the key to the universe. How does that work? Tell me a little bit about diversification and like the private equities world. I think it maybe a lot of people who are listening to this are like, the fuck is private? I don't know these words.
What is private
So
equity?
like Jeff,
Yeah.
pretend like you're talking to a class of like fourth graders. and tell them what private equity for what is private equity and what does it have to do with like diversification?
Oh man, I
Like
don't even
dumb
know.
it down for us, man.
I even think I know what private equity is. No, I'm kidding. What it is it's an investor class, private capital markets, where there's private investors in stuff. So we all know where you look on your phone, on your iPhone here, and you have Apple APPL, whatever the four-digit code is, where that's publicly traded. Essentially, what this is, or what we do, is this is stuff that's privately traded, private
Hmm.
capital markets. So these are companies that are not on the market. And in order to be within this market or to take a look at some of these investments, you have to be what's called a accredited investor. So that's either your high net worth individual, your family offices, or your institutional capital. That means you have $1 million net worth, excluding your homestead or your primary residence, and then you have around 250,000 per annum of annual income. I think it's 350 for joint, or you can be a CPA, a tax attorney, somebody with a degree of sophistication, or you have to have that's your FRNA, that's your licensing. So somebody that's licensed would be considered an accredited investor, your wealth managers. So that goes from your high net worth individuals to your family offices, single family, multifamily. Those are groups of high net worth individuals or ultra high net worth individuals. And then you have your institutional capital. Those are the big boys that fund a lot of the stuff in the country. Those are your Black Rocks, your Blackstones, your Apollos, your KKRs. Some of those people might talk about those or you might read about those somewhere, but we work with a lot of those institutions of doing their placements. And if you've ever filed your taxes at the end of the year, sometimes if you're a 1099er, a sole proprietor, self-employed, we've all had that painful experience of having to pay in, right? So about this from a large institutional investor standpoint of view. They have what's called debt and liabilities. That's the same thing that you look to pay in on your taxes. So we work with that arm specifically, and they're called allocators because they have to spend it. And oftentimes, what we're solving is a larger problem by them investing. So we're solving a half a billion-dollar problem by them spending 1 to 200 million on something that we create.
Hmm.
So if that makes sense, that's essentially private equity, and it's what we create underneath it as well too, with the investment vehicles. So that's your SEC. If you ever want to go down a rabbit hole, the 1933-34 Securities Act, it's one of my favorite things to read, and I read it every day. I've read it for the last like 4 or 5 years, but it goes through all your various exemptions and stuff like that. So what we would do is a lot of stuff that's in Regulation D, which is that exemption, and then 506C. That's stuff that we can market towards or mass market towards accredited investors. Or there's 506B, that's for people within our circle where we know them, we have pre-existing relationships. So we put together a lot of those, and then we de-risk it on the back end. So our operators are able to do some amazing things. Like the last deal I did was 275 net income, 10 for EBITDA, or excuse me, 275 gross, and then 10.4 EBITDA. That means your net and total what it makes. And then we acquired it for 55, and then 75 million total was budgeted in that. So there's an extra 20 for like rip and replacing for computer systems and stuff like that. Our operators could improve it to about 17.4, but on the fund side, because we had receivables at 30 days and payables at 90 days, we could put a lot of that into like what we develop internally, so we can make 4 million within the fund. So we're de-risking everything on the front end for our operators.
Hmm. So you talk a lot about working with really high net worth individuals. And one of the things that I find interesting about you, and I think our listeners will find interesting about you, is Most of the time you see these people who are like, I'm rolling with the high net worth people. We got the big fancy house, and here's me taking a picture in front of my fancy car, and blah 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 blah. All the things that are very like outward expression of, I call them like bro coaches that are like, here's my thing, and I'm so tough, and I'm like showing you how cool I am. And you're kind of a minimalist. Like you don't live a really simple life. Like I have seen your truck. I have like, spent quite a bit of time with you and stuff. And it's like you're not into like this whole world where you have to have the fanciest car and the fanciest house and the fanciest like 5 million things of everything. So like how did you get to the point where that
Oh,
was a
for
thing that was
sure.
important to you?
I've got to toss on the Senate hat for that
You
too.
got to have send it
This
hat
is
on.
one of those things too, and the hunter camo, blaze orange. Anywho, so I did the 100 item challenge.
Tell everyone what the 100 item challenge
Oh,
is.
it was something that's going around. This is like before Facebook was the thing. I read about it maybe on USA Today or AOL or something like that. I said that's where you limit or you scrape your life down to 100 items. It's this whole minimalism thing.
Yeah.
And I got hooked on minimalism probably like around then, 2007. I was traveling internationally a lot and I cut the cord with cable. I was just so over that. I was like, that's when like all the election cycles and 24 News and stuff like that just started getting to be horrendous, and all it ever was commercials. So I cut that, and then I was looking online, and I saw the 100 item challenge. I said, "Huh, yeah, let's do it." So anything that I needed, so I got that down to like basically my bed, my couch, like the bare like silverware that I needed, everything else like that. Boards, like what are the boards that I need? Do I absolutely need a dresser? Do I need these many articles of clothing, especially when I'm sponsored and I can refresh stuff? Um, and it's life's just so much easier with that is what I realized. I mean, did I get down to 100? Maybe for like a couple months. Because that's a tough number to keep everything in there because your car
Yeah.
counts. Your iPod, if you play that in your car counts. Everything kind of counts. And then I was even counting stuff that I had in my fridge too, where I'm like, this is 100 items. These are things that I
Oh,
have.
wow.
And it kind of like I came up with this concept of it takes up space, and space takes money, and money takes resources, and at that, it takes time sometimes or other, types of resources that creates monetary or monetization, right? So by doing that, I was just able to like really be free and live this life of freedom. I drive a truck with 345,000 miles on it, and I work on it. I bring everything I need to work on it, and my toolbox and all that stuff. And it's thing's gonna go for 1 million. It's a diesel, so those things run forever, And then got my other cars and stuff like that. But the other thing too is spending time around like ultra high net worth people or people have kind of been generational or they've grown up around it. What I've found is there's this humility where you take a look at, and sometimes the gurus and the coaches and stuff like that, they're like, look at me and look at this.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
very look at me.
we we call that new money,
Yeah.
where it's like, look what I made, like cool, you came from nothing, man. Nothing but respect. But eventually you find that those things don't fill a void, and sometimes it's another thing, and it's just it can be an addiction like alcohol or cigarettes or something like that, where it just fills a void. And then eventually you end up with all this stuff. And, part of it too was my grandma passed and when I was 21, like a long time ago. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'm sitting in a room where we visiting family, we still have stuff, like the dressers and stuff like that.
Are you there? I think I lost you for a sec. Hello, hello.
I'm here.
Oh, and we're back.
Okay. I don't know
I
what that
lost you for a sec.
Yeah. Sometimes it's Maine. We're in a older place here. Yeah, sometimes people just carry on. Like none of the stuff that we have is really gonna matter once we're gone. It just matters to you, and keep the bare things that you need. You don't need all these toys and stuff like that. And I looked at kind of going forward to where I was saying like the old money or some of the ultra high net worth people like billionaires that I've met, those guys roll up. Yeah, they might fly in a private jet, but that's because they want to get back home and get there and stuff like that. Where like the new guy like comes up with his chauffeur, like, oh, check out my Rolex and check out this whatever Bentley or Rolls Royce that I got and all this stuff. And this cost $200,000 and
Yeah.
all this. Like, look at here's some money. Like, here's $100 bills because I don't carry anything besides $100 bills, but. You look at the guy, it's old money, the old money billionaire. That dude's just coming up, ratted out shirt, ratted out jeans, Honda Accord that's just clapped out. He doesn't want anybody to know who he is or anything like that. He wants to fly under the radar. The only reason he's taking that private jet is because he just doesn't want to deal with the airport and all that other stuff. Where it's more of a convenience factor. And you can always tell the difference between who's been there a while versus who hasn't. And there's just a level of humility and like you get, and I've been there too, like where I've achieved like what I thought was the top or like the upper echelon and stuff like that. But life has a way of kicking you off the mountaintop sometimes when you get too high. And sometimes you end up all the way in the valley. And I can guarantee you some of those guys, like they've been in the valley a few times and they've climbed right back up, but they always remember who they were at their lowest point. And then the other thing I always notice too is they never forget who pushed when they're out of gas or anytime they
Mm.
needed any resources.
Mm. What are the most important things in your life now? You've kind of got to this point where you're doing what you love. You're good at it. You're, hanging around and, connecting with really, really smart people and you're really, really smart. Like, what are the things that are important to you? If you could name like the top like five things that are actually important and mean something in your life.
Yeah, it's time. Time's a resource. We all got to spend it, and you're not getting any more time back. From the start of this to the end of this, nobody's getting that time back. Um, so that's a big thing. Things that I love to do, people I love to do it with. Like that's one thing I always say, like kind of like my boundaries don't take me away from the people I love and the things I love to do, unless it's something that really helps the greater good of everything. And then what I like too, or love projects that I'm involved in. Like some of the bigger things that we're doing. There's one thing in particular where there's 28,000 family farms and ranches a year that go under. And these are the food providers of the United States, of our country. So finding solutions with these problems to help the everyday farmer, the everyday rancher just keep on going and prosper. That's something that I love to do. I love to solve these big world things. Um, and it's all like playing Fortnite or solving a puzzle. It's fun, it's a challenge, and yeah, that's me. I maybe there's a fifth thing. I love food and water. I do love food. Food's good. I used to
What's
say
your
that.
favorite food, Jeff? You could
Oh,
eat like your death meal, like you're on death row, you're gonna die. What's your meal?
the death. All right. I'll throw it to Wisconsin. It's the food pyramid of Wisconsin. It's three things. Whole bunch of cheese, brats, and some beer.
Yeah,
That's,
you brought some beer.
keep it super simple. And hopefully the brats are boiled up in beer, like how we do at Lambeau Field,
Mm-hmm.
before a Packers game, and then seared on the grill. Like not those ones that you get in the little package where they're all pre-cooked. Those aren't brats, and
That's not a brat.
they got
Okay, good to know. Good to
they got to be
know.
made for
Okay,
Boyd, Wisconsin.
okay, we're gonna do lightning round. So answer these as fast as you can.
All right.
What's your favorite piece of clothing to wear? You put it on and you're like, I feel like a badass.
Gym shorts,
Yours. Love that. Okay. What is the weirdest place you've ever taken a Zoom call?
roller coasters.
You were on the Zoom call on the roller coaster?
Yeah, or dropping. I got another one for you too.
Okay,
Drop
good.
AT-22 at Squaw Valley. There's a couple cliffs that you got to drop there too. So it's with mute and be right back, guys.
Be right back, guys. We're going upside down. I ride a lot of roller coasters. I have yet to do a Zoom call on a roller coaster. That's a good one. Okay, what is your idea of a fun night?
Fun night. Friday night fish fry, hopefully 4-H fair, somewhere in between there, and maybe catching a little bit of music.
What kind of music do you like?
Oh, you name it. Classical, the country, to classical rock, hip hop, even some like the new age, like stuff you hear at Burning Man. Like stuff's
Yeah,
all rad. I just like music in
you
general.
like music. Okay, cool. Um, let's see. What is your favorite possession? You don't own a lot of things, but what is like one of the things you own that you're like, I'm
Oh,
gonna
I
keep
was
owning
once in a
that.
relationship with it. It was called Jeff's Snowboard. And then I also split up with it to get in a relationship with Jeff's surfboard. So it's either or, it's a board as long as it's under
Yeah.
my feet. Surfboard, snowboard, anything I can go send it with.
Okay, you say the word send it. You've got it on your shirt, you've got it on your hat. What does that mean to you?
I should have
Like,
said send it hat. Basketball or like gym shorts are great, but the send it hat makes me feel like a badass too. Send it. It comes from oh, it's like way before me. People used to climb and rock climbing, mountain climbing, and stuff like that. And there's a saying, ascend when you climb up, right? And then people would say, ascend it. But if you're yelling across the mountain valley, it started to sound like send it. And then it kind of came from that whole space. But then it's always been said, and since I was growing up, like skiing, skiing, snowboarding, and stuff like that, even in the 80s. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna go drop this, or I'm gonna go do this run. Send it. It just means like Nike says it in 3 words, just do it. This is 2 words, send it. It's just way simpler, way easier. And it's one of those fun things, I put it on everything on the shred neck, I send it, but I didn't come up with it. But it's cool to slap it on stuff, and when you got to be professional and certain environments and stuff like that, and have haircuts, and you can't grow mullets or dye your hair leopard like I used to do back in the day. You can put it on stuff, like suits, or you can even put it like same matching color, and it's just still like kind of that punk rock badass. Like I still shred it on a snowboard, and I haven't completely sold out.
hmm, you haven't completely sold out. What does that mean to you? Like, what is selling out? What would that look like?
Volcom, Youth Against Establishment, and they're publicly traded. That's the biggest. Like we all thought about
That's the
that.
biggest sellout.
Like Volcom was awesome. They had all the cool stuff, and then Youth Against Establishment. Yeah, no establishments. Okay, now you're publicly traded. They still make badass stuff though. Like can't hate on them.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to see if we can talk about something personal real quick.
Yeah.
And we'll see if real quick is a thing, but you had a health scare a little while ago, a couple of years ago, and that changed a little bit of things for you and how you saw things. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think so many of us kind of go along and we're learning things and doing our things, we're in our grooves, and then all of a sudden you kind of have one of those like moments
Yeah.
in time where you're like the world just kind of stops and there's kind of like the before that time and the after that time and you just see things and do things differently and
Oh, thanks.
so
Um,
tell us a little bit about that.
all right. So before this, I've always been banged up, or I've been hospitalized, or
You
got
have.
too many CAT scans, or like anything else like that. Like there's a that thing's probably like a mile long, but it's all because of my own accord. Because I was just being too extreme, sending it too hard, and just getting too gnarly. Anyways, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, in March of 2022, I took a plane and I was headed back east. And a few days later, I noticed that my leg was warm, red, swollen, um, all the signs of this is a DVT, or venous thrombosis, right? And it was from my knee all the way up to my hip, venous thrombosis on that side. Um, so I went and got checked out, and they're like, "Yeah, cool. We'll get you in for a Doppler. Here's some blood thinners." I go in the next day. Obviously, they scan it, and they're like, "Yeah, it's pretty big. By the way, it sounds like you kind of have a dry cough." And my primary care physician mentioned to me. She said, "Hey." Um, I'm gonna have you checked out regardless, but go get a CAT scan. And they're like, yeah, dude, you have bilateral, like both your lungs have pulmonary embolisms. And that's when, yeah, and I'm in little regional hospital in Maine, right? That's when, and you got a lot of travel nurses, travel doctors, and stuff like that. It's like couple of years removed from the whole Rona and stuff like that. So precautions are still being taken, but they're all starting to panic and freak out and stuff like that. And I'm looking at them just from my time in, search and rescue and EMT training. I'm like, guys, like I'm at 97% oxygen saturation. I'm good. Like my pulse rate's good. Call it PCP. We're all good there. So I had this conversation. I'm like, calm down, calm down. This is me talking to you as the patient. Like, calm down, calm down. It's not time to panic yet. Don't need to like
You're
get a
telling them
doctor.
this. You're the patient, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
What I'm
guys.
like trying to help him move in is like I'm getting transported to go to main med and stuff like that, and trying to move. They're like, no, don't move, don't move. Like, hey, this stuff. I'm like, all right, all right, all right. Yeah. So it's life's crazy. Like that totally could have just died from that. I know a lot of people that die instantly from that. If it becomes aortic, you can have a heart attack. If it becomes, yeah, it can also travel up to your brain and cause a stroke. There's a number of different things that could happen. And I was on the blood thinners too for about a year, Aliquis, and they're like, yeah, it's only gonna be 3 months, and then it's only gonna be 6 months. And I was also at my buddy's wedding in Wisconsin, and we like to have some beers out there, so I had to like not partake in drinking beers in Wisconsin, and that was like a whole nother trial and tribulation in its own right. But then I said, what the heck? Like, once I get past 6 months, I'm just gonna go a whole like year and, figure out what life's like that, and that was kind of cool as eye-opening. Like, it just felt cool to like kind of calm, like slow down, speed up. Um, wasn't able to do any of the fun action sports that I like to do, so like had to find other stuff to fill the void. Like, couldn't even work on a, turn a wrench or anything like that, or anything that risked the like bleeding because I was on a blood thinner. So, potential to like bleed out and stuff like that. So I had to find other stuff and took the opportunity to like really go in and learn stuff and learn who I am as a person and what I really want out of life and stuff. And, it was just that weird. I think my body just said, F you, you're 40. This is for like treating this like a rental car that you're gonna take to a demo derby at the not even the fair. You went to the freaking carnival, bro. So it was just kind of the whole thing where, yeah, hey, you're gonna be around this. Yeah, I'm gonna be around for a while. So now, like, you hit 40s, like you kind of realize everything that you want and how to get it. And that you're in it for the marathon and not the quick race. Like I before I was turning 30, I thought I was just gonna disintegrate and like spontaneously combust. So like 40, like it wasn't even something I could like fathom.
Yeah.
Um, so it just it's a whole different lens that kind of look at stuff. It's an appreciation of life and all that kind of slows down and meditation and stuff. I've been big on that and just prioritization of stuff that I really like to do, and I have a total appreciation for being able to get back out there and do that. And then I had to advocate too with my physicians of being on this stuff. They wanted me to stay on it for life, and I said, no way, man. Like that's you might as well just take me out now. Because if I can't do the stuff that I love to do, then what's the point of being on this rock? It's kind of a weird way to look at it because sometimes you find, I mean, I was finding new stuff to do, but to do just the fun, extreme stuff, while I still had it in me, it just felt like it was not living up to me and who I was. I have
Mm.
like a soul, like on the soul level.
Yeah. So, what do you feel like that balance is now? You've had this experience, and you're like, you talked about treating your body like it was going to go in a demolition derby and stuff before, and you still want to do extreme stuff, but you want to take care of your body. What does that balance look like for you now?
Well, it is the other thing too of having um having kind of some adult responsibilities and stuff like that with everything I do, um, playing with the house's money. Um, Sometimes it's just rather than going to the gym, it's taking laps in the morning and bring my laptop, and people are jealous, they think it's a Zoom background sometimes, and it's the beach or
Yeah.
it's like a theme park or somewhere like a mountain or something like that. Oh, nice Zoom background until I see a bunch of people like walking by. But that's really like where I need to be. I just need to be in my element and all that. It's also a prioritization of like energy and stuff too, because I don't do too many video calls or anything unless it's like clients and they absolutely insist on it. It's like, man, I got this phone thing. It works great. Um, I'll go in person, and then also reprioritization too. God, this happened to me recently. I got stuck in Philly for like 34 hours on one of those connecting flights where just weather and every planes, trains, and automobiles. I was supposed to be at one place on supposed to be like Monday night. I didn't get there until like Wednesday afternoon. And from now on, I'm like, if it's not direct, then I'm not doing it. Or actually, if I can't drive it, I'm not doing it. Other alternative is I fly it, but I'm only qualified to fly like those little like puddle jumpers. So um, that's not going to happen. So direct flights or private or something like that. Otherwise, it's just reprioritization. Send somebody else, or hey, we can meet if we have to meet in person. We can meet on Zoom, or you know, it's yeah, it's just life's too short to do the things that you don't want to do or the things you don't love, and you really got to say no to the good, say yes to the great. And I've been saying this for like a long time, but it's just kind of like the realization of doing that. And I made a self-help book that's kind of applicable to like any industry called Get Awesome, where passions meet purpose above and beyond. But I read that and I was like, wow, man, that kind of helped me take a lot of my own advice too. Where, oh yeah, it's like reprioritizing. It's like
Wait a minute, I'm kind of smart. This makes
it's like if you,
sense.
it felt like I'm like reading my own book at one point, and somebody said that's like Kenny Powers and Eastbound and Down, Danny McBride when he's
Yeah.
playing the character and he's listening to his own book on tape. He's like, "Welcome to chapter two. This is Kenny Powers. I'm effing in and you're effing out."
Okay, so that what you said about saying no to good and yes to great, I think that's really, really powerful actually, because we say yes to stuff all the time that's because it's good. There's lots of good things. It's, your friend invites you to go here or there, and you can fly off and do this, and there's like a million good things you can do that I think people do. Like we overschedule ourselves and we do so many of these good things that like we burn ourselves out and don't have time or energy to do like super great things. So I think that's like a very powerful lesson is no to good things. It's not just
Totally.
like no to things that don't serve you. I think people talk about that all the time. It's like those things that you really don't want to do, those things that aren't going to serve you, say no to those things. Cool. That's like level one. Level
Yeah.
two, level three. We're going to get up to those things that are good, but it isn't light your soul on fire. It's not great. It's not like what your like absolute best self wants to do.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I'm all good. Hey, do you want to do this and do that and do this? No, I'm good. Or hey, can you do this deal? It's within such and such and it's outside my wheelhouse. Sorry, can't do it. Sometimes in certain situations too, you can suggest alternatives or, in segments and stuff like that, like the whole coaching, consulting industry, or even finance or the service industry. You can kind of plug people into like some alternatives and stuff like that. People that would be ideal fits for them. So
Yeah.
I usually try and do that, or I'm just honest about it where, hey, can't do it, man. Like, that's my integrity. I'm only as good as my word and my name.
Mm. Okay, I have two more questions for you. One is if you could go back to the you who was running the snowboard company and give yourself one piece of advice. You only get to tell yourself one thing. What would you tell yourself?
By Jarden Home Brands, their whole portfolio of like multiple different action sports brands, it was on sale for $20 million. And that's like, it looked like a lot then. And that's like just a bucket now, like a little penny in a bucket. Oh, here you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, go buy stuff. Don't even build it.
Yeah, go buy the thing. Okay, good advice. The next piece of advice I want you to give is for our audience. You're one of those people in my personal circle anyway that I go, Jeff knows exactly who he is. Jeff is just going to show up as Jeff and he's going to send it and he's going to do his thing and you've got your personality and you have like your things and you're just you. And a lot of people in my audience are trying to figure out what that looks like to like fully express as their whole self. So if you could tell them one thing, and here's my caveat, Jeff, you can't just say send it. I'm the worst. I want you to give them one piece of advice about showing up as like your true, just 100% you self and just like go in there.
Like who are you down deep down to the soul? Like what would stoke you out as a 5 year old or as a young kid when you have your earliest memories, like wearing that superhero cape, or like maybe it's 8 playing that sport, or 16. Like where were you at that level when you were just unapologetically you? It didn't matter. And if people don't like that, that's not, who cares? It's really just, it's totally selfish to do, but it like really puts you in this ultimate alignment of, if people like it, cool. If they don't, cool. That's on you. I'm just gonna keep on doing this and being me. If I don't wear sleeves, which I do quite a bit, um, great. If you don't like it, sorry. I mean, sorry you don't like it, but it's hot out here. I'm not gonna wear sleeves. Um, just kind of having that attitude, like you're not here to really, we're here for ourselves and for our self growth, and it's really about filling up your cup and, just really holding yourself to your standard, your soul level, and whatever, like as long as it's within your belief system, like it supports that, fills up your cup. What you're going to find is that fills up the cups of everybody around you. Like people just kind of buy into that, like that video of that one person that's just dancing,
Yeah.
like out of control, and people are like, "Who's this weird dude?" But eventually, they're attracted to that, and you'll get two or three other people that are gonna be like, "You know what? I want to be myself too. This is who I am. This is how I express myself." And then you get 10 more people, and then you get 20 people, and then you kind of get the whole, everybody's the totally adopting it and just being themselves.
Mm.
But show up unapologetically as yourself, like however you feel. Like the younger you would be absolutely stoked that the 20 something, 30 something, 40 something, or 50 something, or even 60, 70, 80, like don't apologize for anything, and you know just go out there. And this is what send it means, is doing just that. Going out there and be who you are, and don't apologize for being who you are, as long as you're not, hurting any people or anything like that, or if, vulgar, like none of the crazy stuff that totally offends people, but, offending them enough to like where it's punk rock, as we used to say. Um, cool, like just go out and send it and be rad, and just that's life. That's what it's all about. For
Mm.
me anyways.
Well, for me too. I'm like, no, that's why I ask because I'm like, it's my favorite thing ever. So, Jeff, where can people find more of you? They want to follow you. They want to find more about private equities. They just want to have the more shred neck in their life. Where can they follow?
Oh, more shred necks. So I mean, really, there's lots of ways. I mean, it's like peeing in the shower. It all goes down the same drains. I totally had to get that one in there. I was telling somebody that today, but really, like, I got the personal site, jefflavin.net, theshredneck.com. Then I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, all the various socials and stuff like that. So however you want to reach out to me, um, you can usually find that that way, and eventually it all trickle down, and just like the drains in the shower, it all gets to me somewhere in this handy handheld device. But I'm also at Legacy Capital Ventures, Pacific Capital, managing partners there as well too. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And yeah, shoot, and then Google too. Just Redneck, Jeff Lavin. I pop up there at a few things. I think still might have that cool factor. There's probably some cool old snowboard vids and stuff like that out there. It's fun to do that every now and then
Super
to
fun.
Google yourself. Google. I like to call it Lugal.
Google. So go Google Jeff Lavin, find all his old shrednecky X Games stuff, snowboarding, all the things. Get him on socials. JeffLavin.net. Is that what you said?
Yeah, jefflavin.net because somebody else.
JeffLavin.net, theshredneck.com. Find him in
And
all
if
the places.
another Jeff Lavin watches this with the jefflavin.com. I've been trying to buy that for like 20 years. He bought the domain for like 50 years. Who does that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thejuliemay.com
Oh,
because Julie May.
the
So like I'm the important one. I'm thejuliemay.com. So you can find me. That's where you can find me. Thanks for coming on, Jeff Lavin. We like to call him the Shredneck. He's going to tell you to send it. And this is Julie May with Ridiculously You podcast. I'm going to tell you to have a ridiculous day. Go out and be 100% you. And really say no to good things so that you can say yes to the great ones. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Share the spark, take it higher. Hit subscribe, bring a friend. Let the wildness never end.